Hi everyone, this is Neha, and in today's episode of Interview Code, I have with me someone who has a very interesting story, I would say. I have with me Trembak, who received a full-time offer from Amazon. And if I understand correctly, Trembak, you don't have a lot of competitive coding experience. That is right.
No, not really at all. I did computer programming for the last around 2.5 to 3 months. That's
And
it.
that's all that it took to clear
And
Amazon.
that's all it took. Yeah.
Okay, wow. So I want to know more about this, and I am sure the viewers also want to know more about this. So let's get started. So first of all, Trembak, let's just do a quick intro. Tell us about you, your technicals, your non-technicals. Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Trambak Bhattacharjee, and as a in technical field, since the start of my college, I have mostly been involved in research-related topics. My specific interest is in machine learning, and I have undertaken multiple research internships in the same area. And other than that, in non-technical fields, I'm interested in swimming and I enjoy photography. That's it.
Okay, that's pretty neat. So first of all, let's understand the whole screening process. How did you exactly what kind of rounds did you exactly go for during this interview, and exactly how did you clear these rounds? So yeah.
Okay, so the Amazon process has around three technical and behavioral interviews, and there is a one online shortlisting round. So the online round has in total four different topics that the Amazon tests you on.
Okay.
So it has the aptitude round, coding round, a debugging round, and a workflow assessment. So the aptitude round usually consists around say around 28 around questions, and it's basically tests your mental ability. It gives puzzles, word decodings, and the common mental ability questions that you normally face.
Right.
There is this decoding round where you can choose your own language according to your needs, and the code basically asks you to find the code is already basically given, and it asks you to find out any mistake in that with a given problem statement with sample input and output. And then there's this usual coding round that everybody's familiar with. And there is this finally there is this behavioral round. So it was at least untimed for me
Right.
in my case, and it basically gives you two different kinds of situations, behavioral situations. Say you work better under a lot of workload, or you work better under a less workload, and you would like to divide your time efficiently.
Right.
So you have to just to say which fits more like you, which of the situations is more like you.
Okay.
So yeah, so that was this behavioral round.
Okay, so Trembak, this behavioral round, I have not heard of some kind like this kind of a round for other companies. So is this like specific to Amazon or
As far as I remember, Goldman Sachs asks gives you two questions related to behavior, but it was not as extensive as it was for Amazon. Like Amazon really, I had around at least 25 to 30 questions on this behavioral round, and there was no time limit in this round specifically. So just to be clear, this is a part of the first online test that you give that you would have to give. So yeah.
okay? So these like they basically just focus on the principles that Amazon adopts, I guess, these behavioral rounds to
Yeah,
do.
exactly. Amazon has this nine leadership principles, and they expect you to be to fit in according to those principles. So one should keep those in mind while attempting this round.
Okay, I'll try to link that in the description maybe if
Yeah, cool.
people want to check that out. All right. So okay, so now that we are through with the first round, what was the second technical round like?
Okay, so the second technical round was pretty similar to the first one, except that I was asked two questions, and the rest of the round was behavioral. So I had to solve the first two questions within 40 minutes, and the behavioral questions were to be asked in the last 20 minutes. The interview stated it. before the start, I mean during the start of the interview. So I had basically a time limit of 40 minutes to solve both the questions. So the first question that was asked to me was matrix based questions based on dynamic programming. So basically you are given a grid again, and you have to find out the minimum path sum that you can achieve by starting from the top left of the grid to the by reaching the bottom right of the grid. And the second question was a popular question known as the in Leetcode it's known as the next greater element 2, or it's basically you have to find given a list, you have to basically find the next greater element of each of for each of the elements given the list is circularly linked.
Okay.
And this was a technical part of it. I solved both the questions here too, and the second question I started with a bit unoptimized approach. The interview pointed it out, and so after he pointed it out to me, and I thought of it more, and I got and I was able to give the most optimized approach for it.
Right.
And finally, following this, I was asked a behavioral question based on like whether in my any of my past internships, whether there had been any situation where I had to go out of my way to study something more, So this basically pointing it out. This is basically one of the Amazon's leadership principle that I mentioned. So it's basically known as dive deep. So it was a behavioral question based on that. So yeah, I described a situation that had actually happened. So and I did it, and that was the second.
Okay. Okay, wow. So, okay, this interview round is, I think, also equally grilling in terms of the coding questions, but and also like a lot
Right.
of emphasis on the behavioral questions, like finding out the
Yeah.
principle,
Right.
like making the questions out from it. So, yeah, definitely
Right.
need to check out these principles, and I'll also try to link all the questions that we talked about in the description so that folks can check out if it's on Leetcode or any other question that is similar in concept, maybe, so that you can check out in practice. All right, so now let's move on to the final HR round. What was it like?
The HR round was for me. It was it was the round that I was most comfortable in giving it because the interview that I had was pretty chill. So he just we initially we had some chit chat regarding this COVID situation and giving interviews over in the virtual meet. So we had a detailed discussion regarding one of my projects. Actually, he gave me the freedom to choose any of my projects, and I had to say around 20 minutes, 10 minutes on that.
Right.
So I chose one of my projects, and I explained it in 10 minutes. So he then asked if he was a person who doesn't know anything about computer science, so how would I explain it? So I modified my explanation by introducing some basic examples that they can relate to real life. And finally I was asked like given he actually fetched my codes that I had written in my second round. So he fetched my codes and he asked me whether what should I do to make it more maintainable, like the codes that I written, what should I do to make it more maintainable and production ready. So yeah, so I made some basic changes like introducing object-oriented concepts, changing variable names to make it more readable, introducing some additional pre-processing functions, some overflow checks, and yeah, that was it. And he was satisfied. And I was asked around one to two more behavioral questions that were again based on the Amazon principles.
Principles.
So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think as far as I'm understanding, this whole interview is actually uh, pretty practical in the way that they are also focusing on the aspect of how do you actually write code, and it's like a combination of
Exactly.
both your coding capabilities as well as some of your development based capabilities. So I think it's a pretty neat approach. So
Right.
okay, so moving on to like let's talk about you. Like we talked about all of these interview, like whatever you did, like how the interviews approached and whatever happened. But the most important part is like no prior competitive coding experience, and you just like lead coded your way through it in a span of 2-3 months. So what kind of interview practice did you do? Like everyone is like going mad right now. Like you, like you have to tell us. So yeah.
So So I started my preparation in around late May. So basically, for competitive coding experience, I did something in my first years, and that was it. So I didn't enjoy doing that competitive coding much in the first year, so I gave it up. So post that, I was directly in my this I did this interviews in within around 3 months, and I had to start my preparation. So
Right.
what I did is that I started with my fundamentals, the basic algorithms that we have, the what are the basic data structures. I started reading those.
Hmm.
Then I would after I finished reading a chapter, say I'm studying about stacks and queues. So
Right.
after I'm comfortable with the theory part of it, I would go to Leetcode. I would sort the questions according to the difficulty and acceptance rate. So
Right.
basically, the questions that that is more accepted, it's more like it's that means that the question is pretty comparatively easier.
Hmm.
So I would start with the easier questions, and I would keep on solving them until I'm quite comfortable. Then I would increase my difficulty, and I will switch to medium questions and so on.
Right.
So that was my basic the crux of my approach. So
Hmm.
I did an intensive preparation for around 2.5 months, and that was it.
All right, so this sounds like really targeted interview practice. So you mentioned like first I used to read the concepts and then I used to attempt the question. So is there any particular reasoning behind it? Because usually what happens is like we think that okay, during our engineering years we have already studied linked list and stack and all these things. So why do we like need to refresh it? Like shouldn't we just start like coding? So just yeah, describe the same.
Yeah. So there is a pretty different difference between just reading a topic and appearing in the college university exams and actually applying that concepts into competitive programming.
Right.
So unless your concepts are pretty clear, there like you would be able to solve some questions, but there would be questions where you would get stuck, and that would actually demotivate you. So I didn't want didn't want to get demotivated. So I made sure that I knew all the concepts first, and then I moved on to the solving questions. I actually followed a YouTube channel that was pretty helpful for me. That was a channel by Aditya Verma. This guy actually takes each of these topics and it breaks and he breaks it down into important concepts that needs to be covered, and the questions that can be formed on the variations of such concepts. So
Right.
I found it pretty neat, and it was the approach used in the channel was actually like unique.
Hmm.
So I followed that, and additionally I followed some Geeks for Geeks, of course, for studying the concepts.
Okay,
Right.
that's thank you for sharing that resource. I will also try to link that in the description for folks to check out. All right. So, okay, so now that we are through with this, so how many questions did you solve in this entire period? And like, was there some schedule that you are holding on to? Because I believe it would have been really rigorous to get through all of the placement preparation.
So for the number of questions, I solved around 350 questions on Leetcode and around 250 questions from interview bit. So in total, that would be around 600 questions. So yeah, so that would be number of questions. Initially, when I started my preparation, I wouldn't focus on solving a number of problems. I would focus on studying concepts.
Right,
So I would take up a question. I would try it for around sometimes around 40 to 45 minutes to even 1 hour.
right,
And in case I wasn't able to solve that question within that time, I would refer to the solutions, and I would see what concept had been used and how a variation of the concept can be used in later problems. So I would try to learn that, and so it and gradually as time went on, the number of questions that I could solve per day increased. So during mid of my preparation, I always had a goal of solving around 10 questions per day.
right,
So that would be so many of the day I reached the goal, many of the day I didn't. So in the days I didn't, I tried to ensure that the questions I weren't able to solve, that I was able to learn the concepts behind it, and
right.
yeah, that's just it.
So was there some progression like how did you like maybe if people have like concepts like dynamic programming or graphs, so they usually try to hit it like at a later stage. So was there some kind of progression in terms of how someone is supposed to move from like the easier part of the like whole placement prep spectrum to the difficult part? And yeah, so how did you basically make that leap?
Okay, so For me personally, I started with stacks and queues, and then I jumped directly to dynamic programming.
Okay.
Sorry, I started with stacks and queues. I did binary search after that. Then
Hmm.
went directly to dynamic programming. The reason was that the dynamic programming is is one of the topics that would pretty much get asked in any interview or any coding round that you have. So that were questions and a lot of variations can be done on dynamic programming problems. So it a vast area of concepts that you need to be covered. So I tried to cover that first. So I don't think following like you need exactly need to start with arrays, then followed by strings and followed by any sequential. I personally do I don't think you need to do that, but there would be some questions where suppose you're starting with dynamic programming and you don't know and you have not studied about stacks and queues, you would find questions that actually uses concepts from stacks and queues also. So so basically you can mark that and you can just move on so as to solve it later after once you have covered stacks and queues.
Okay.
So so lead code by following lead code, you basically you can just get which concepts that are used in this particular problem. So you can just filter it out according to your current preparation and based on the topics you have covered.
Okay. So like I have like okay, first of all, one like there are two things that I personally understand from this conversation, and one is that do not focus on the number of problems that you're solving in a day. Focus on learning the
Right,
concepts first. And the second thing is
right,
that maybe this is because of the time constraint that you had, but like there
right,
shouldn't be any order in which you can study. And if you probably study dynamic programming at an earlier stage, then you'll be better able to grasp the concept till the end of the time period that you have instead of starting at a later stage.
right,
Is that correct?
right.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
that's correct. I would just like to add one thing,
Hmm.
the you like I would always prefer to learn concepts rather than focusing on number of questions. But of course, at some point you must have a target in mind of a certain number of questions that you need to solve. Whether or not you are actually able to reach that. But I think it's better to have a particular number in mind for each day, because that keeps you going, that I need to solve more in this day. So yeah, that's it.
It's like it's a mindset thing then, right?
Yeah, it's a mind game actually. No, if you're not able to reach the target, then then the next day you will be more focused and and you're more productive. At least it was the case for me, so I did that.
Yeah, that is something that I have to like add ki, like you are that kind of person like okay, I'm thriving under pressure. People might get very anxious
Yeah,
कि आज ही नहीं हुए 10
right,
क्वेश्चन कल क्या होंगे छोड़ देते हैं. So everyone like move at your own pace, but yeah, definitely set some small goals even for
yeah,
yourself so that you can
right.
keep track of where you're moving in this whole journey. Okay, so now that we are talking about mindset and everything, so like I personally want people to know this. So like the first day, like the very first that you open Leetcode and you're like seeing all these questions, were the easy questions difficult?
Yes, it was it. In the first day, I wasn't able to solve more than two easy questions, and I was pretty demotivated that day. So the crux of the point is to stay focused and keep on trying. So eventually we'll get better in it. So yeah, that's it.
I
The
think
point is to keep sticking on to stick on and try to solve it. Yeah.
this should be like crux of life, not competitive coding, not placement, everything that you do.
Yeah.
This should be the approach. And like so like just imagine all the people watching, like this guy right here, he starts like pehle din not able to solve two questions, and now he's like, you just saw him how flawlessly he was like flaunting ki ha maine tino questions solve kar diye, and such difficult questions. So like it's just like a mindset thing. Everyone can get there. It just takes time, practice, consistent practice, and if possible apply these strategies that he did during his preparation. Do it like in a targeted way, in a very focused manner, that you can actually get to the point where you can also crack like any company that you want. Like not like I don't personally say I don't want to like be like कि हाँ fan में घुसो ये करो वो करो, but to like do go for a company that you want to be like at, like that you're satisfied with possibly. So yeah, that should be the goal. Okay, so now I think we're through with almost all of the things that we had to discuss. But like personally, I find your profile like very interesting. So you actually tried out a lot of things. You have research experience. You worked on freelancing projects, and now you like did competitive coding, and now you're getting into Amazon. So इसमें से अच्छा क्या लगा, इतने चीजें एक्सप्लोर करने का फायदा क्या था, like what would you say to college students की how should they like spend their time with things? So yeah.
Okay, I always used to do like things which I am actually interested in. Like I wouldn't do something like if I don't have interest in it, and I wouldn't like to pursue it. So
Right.
I wanted to try out like initially in my first and second years you don't get a lot of opportunities from companies, right? Like
Hmm.
personally I think so.
Yeah.
Even if you're getting projects, you're getting basic HTML projects or something like that.
Right.
So that I didn't like to do those kind of things. So
Right.
I went on to research. Like if you can find out something new, like perform some research, then it not only that actually helps your profile, but you contribute to something to the community. Like uh, your research might be used get letter by used by someone else, and they might do something impactful, or you might do something impactful. So yeah, I wanted to do that, so I started with research. uh, I enjoyed doing that actually.
Hmm.
The freelancing work part was mostly like an experiment for me. Like mostly it was like paying some kind of money to me, so that was a motivation.
Right.
And my interest was in machine learning all throughout my college years. So I was getting projects related to ML and DL, so I actually enjoyed doing that too. The least that I liked was this competitive programming part, which I did only for my interview preparation.
Hmm.
And so yeah, so I wanted to explore avenues like and find where exactly I fit in. So yeah, so that's why I tried out different kind of things, and yeah.
So what about like the advice? Like I know we like बहुत college के students हैं who either they are like getting very anxious first year में कि oh my god everyone is doing all of these things, I'm not doing anything, तो चलो कुछ करते हैं ऐसे, और they are like कि नहीं किसी सीनियर ने बोल दिया है लास्ट में पढ़ के हो जाएगा, and they're like very chilling and like kind of wasting their time in some sort of way.
Yeah,
So what
right.
would you say ki, like what's a balance between those things? Like do you inch towards some specific like thing, like what's your take on it?
Firstly, my advice would be to like if you are not interested in following something, you just don't do it. You won't be like it.
Right.
It might add some value to your resume, but like you won't if you don't enjoy
Right.
doing it. Like it's no there's no point
It's
in doing
gonna
that.
be a
So
task, it's not gonna be like a thing. Yeah.
yeah, so like firstly follow your interest, what you're interested in. और इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि रूम पे बैठ के गेम गेम खेलते रहोगे, मतलब वो तो कुछ अलग ही हो गया, नहीं वैसा नहीं है. पर yeah, and secondly my advice would be like this college years, this is the time like we in which you should be able to develop your personality as well as your resume. So
Hmm.
like don't waste your time in that. So try out something new. There's many interesting things going out in the tech world right now, so try to explore them, try contribute to them, get if you're interested in. And yeah, that would be my advice.
I think that's a pretty neat answer. And for the folks who don't know, Trambak is actually a really, really good swimmer as well. So it's just a like thought key. Okay, if these are also things that you're interested in, then definitely. And if possible, then definitely go for one sport. I think sports is something that can
Yeah.
really help. So yeah, I guess this is a bit off topic, but still important, still relevant. So I guess this brings us to the end of this episode. I had a really lovely time talking to Trambak, getting to know about him, getting to know about this whole interview experience, everything. And thank you so much, Trambak, for joining my channel.
Thank you, Sneha. Yeah.
Alright, so that's all for this video. Do let me know if there's any other company that you want me to talk about or anything in general. And alright, so